This is a QHHT session extract. My client Kevin was shown this life to remind him of who he is and why he came here. His higher self said he is a star walker. He doesn't come from any one particular star system, but he has travelled between different dimensions. The life he was shown here took place around 6,000 years ago. The Earth had fallen in density and it was necessary to try to raise the frequency again. Because Kevin was able to carry a higher frequency, he was tasked with bringing in those frequencies in the form of codes which were imprinted into him and which in turn he imprinted into the Earth. Similarly, some of the animals shown in this life also came from higher realms, and they were bringing in crystalline energies to help raise the frequency of the Earth and of other animals on the Earth. Kevin wanted to know why he has become interested in divining ley lines, studying sacred geometry, and visiting sacred sites. His higher self said it's because he is now stepping into his role, which is to visit certain nodal points on the Earth, such as sacred sites, where his frequency will help to activate the codes within those sites and which will help to raise the Earth's frequency. I hope you enjoy listening.
It's a forest.
Yeah.
And it's quite warm.
Yeah.
Possibly tropical almost.
Mm-hmm.
You have all the different birds' song and sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Even sounds that I wouldn't have heard before. They create their own frequency, vibration, and you feel that I feel I'm in a different world or a different place of creation.
Mm-hmm.
The animals, there are animals.
Yeah.
And it's usually a place that I frequent quite often. And I'm familiar to the animals.
Yeah.
And they come towards me, and the animals concerned, there's all sorts of animals that I don't see, but I know they're there in the undergrowth.
Yeah.
But there are some that do come out.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are not exactly, I wouldn't expect that they would be part of that habitat, but nevertheless they appear.
Yes.
And the elephant is one.
Yeah.
And again, the elephant wears a sapphire on its forehead.
Yeah.
And there's the wolf. There's a black panther. And they surround me just like domestic animals.
Mm-hmm.
And the elephant stretches out his trunk and just caresses me both in my face and rests his trunk on my shoulder. And the panther sits at my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it, and then the panther gets up and walks away, and then a stag comes forth. And just grazes around where I am and at my feet. and just acknowledges me and continues on. And a tiger and a lion actually, both actually, but a lion comes to the fore. Curiously enough, he walks up towards the elephant, and they're not afraid of one. There's no standoff or anything. There's no fear. The lion walks up towards alongside the elephant, and he actually, like as a cat does, rubs against his legs and comes towards me and sits down, and I just pet him, and then I move along, and then we come to an opening, and then there's sun, they're no longer under the
trees,
no longer under the canopy of the forest, but in a more open area. And then I can see out into a great vastness where there's lots of animals on a prairie, and then there's a lake as well. And it, in one sense, it's not exactly part of the prairie, but it's kind of superimposed. It's to the left, as if it's in a different dimension, but can be seen at the same time.
Oh, I see.
And because it's warm, I go to the water and just go in for a swim. And there are actually crocodiles in the water.
Wow.
And they swim along with me. There's only two of them. And it's almost as if they're pets. And then I come out of the water and just enjoy the sun and take in the sunshine.
And can you describe yourself for me? What are you, male or female, young or old?
Male, and I suppose in that I would be probably in my 30s.
Yeah.
And dress-wise, I would have had kind of, it wouldn't be modern day clothing. It would have been clothing that you might expect, or not even clothing, but or a cloth or a fabric that just barely covers the body. Kind of a loin cloth, and just a bit of a loin cloth, just barely covering me, and would have had, I see on my shoulder a tattoo which comes across my chest. It's on my left shoulder, it comes across.
What's the tattoo of?
It's a little bit like as if it's depicting the sunshine, but it's in the center. is light coloured. I think there's a kind of a reddish orange, and on the outside it's kind of like it's dark, it's black or dark coloured, and it's like there were flames coming from the centre, and it creates a pattern, a kind of a petal pattern, or a little bit like the outer part of the sunflower.
Yeah.
And at the end of each of those, there is depictions of one is a depiction of a dragon-like head. Another is a snake, a lion. Basically, the animals that I've been surrounded by.
Yes.
And then I have down my spine, down my back, from my neck right down to bottom, just the base of my skull, down to my behind. There's a tattoo. It's a little bit like it's depicting my vertebrae, but it's not. I think it's a. It's a bit like the back of crocodile.
Oh.
You know, the humpy parts.
Yeah.
The two parts that come down the channel and creates a channel. And then out from that comes at different points a kind of just a kind of just like the nerves of our spine itself, but it's in a tattoo form.
Right.
And each of those, what's on the end of them? I just can't see what's on the end of those. Actually, there are different ones. Say at the very top, they come out, and then at the end there's a kind of a circle, and within the circle, just kind of behind the shoulder blades on each side, there are pyramids.
Oh, really?
And then they're kind of at the broadest point at my shoulder blades. And then there is a tattoo that comes down at a triangle to the middle of my back. And another circle and a pyramid as well, imposed on the tattoo that was up and down.
Why do you think you have these tattoos?
They're mapping out the frequencies or the connections or connection that I have with a mirror within a mirror image within the cosmos. And when I'm out in the sunshine and the sun radiates on that, it creates an energy. That radiates in itself. It's like it becomes three-dimensional.
And do you feel that in your body then?
Well, I can feel it on my back,
Yeah.
but they're in the front as well, from my throat down. There are also
a tattoo.
tattoos.
What are they of?
And again, there's pyramids and a triangle which comes from my throat chakra down to my hips or groin and the outer.
Yeah.
And each of then there's the circle as well in both sides, and within the circle you have pyramids. But those pyramids are ingrained, or there's also designs on those as well.
Oh.
And they're an instruction.
What's the instruction about?
Well, more mapping out of the frequencies within that triangle and within the body itself, remembering that the body is not just physical, it's electrical.
Right.
And when frequencies are transmitted, depending on the angle of the sun and the time of year and time of day, will determine what activation takes place.
Right. And would the activation take place if those tattoos weren't there? Why do you need the tattoos?
Because they are part of the keys.
The keys?
The keys to the activation. And they inform, because they're there, even though they look as if they're two-dimensional, but they with the rays of sunshine and with the positioning of where I'm at that time within the universe, creates an energy, and it can create can act actually as a portal.
Oh. And what happens then when it becomes a portal?
This can happen while lying down.
Yeah.
And with the lying down, you see one on one side, one on the other, and they can act. They can act as the same, but at the same, they're two keys to the same.
Do you mean a key to the front and a key to the back?
Yeah, and it depends on which way you're lying. And when the sunshine it creates, but the fact that you have one on the back, you create an imprint on the earth itself.
Oh, when you're lying down.
Yes, or if you're lying down on my back or on my front. But, but what happens then is you enter into a portal.
Yeah.
And the actual body itself becomes the particles within the body totally accelerate. And in that acceleration, the body loses its actual physical shape and enters into the portal within the triangle that's created. And by virtue of the fact that the triangle was connected to the earth itself, it creates an imprint. So that's the return.
Yeah. And can you go, I wonder whether you go into inner earth. Would that be somewhere you go to through this portal? Can you maybe have a look and see where it is you go when you go through the portal?
It can, you could go within the earth itself, but not into inner earth, but within the actual, just the crust of the earth, or just the soil, or the ground.
Yeah.
And because you would have had two triangles, they could reverse.
Yeah.
And then you enter into the ether.
Yeah. Do the two triangles form like a Merkaba?
Yes.
Oh.
It can act as a triangle or a Merkaba, or both. And because you have the triangle, the pyramid at each side, that in itself creates another dimension, or another. I haven't visualized exactly what they create, but it's. Become part, or enter into the ether, into it can enter into the various constructions that are within the ether itself, be they temples or a place of existence, because the frequency is different, so you can.
Yeah. Can you maybe go somewhere now and tell me what it is you experience when you go into the ether?
Well, there's a warmth, there's a heat, and there's a peace, and there's a calmness, and a knowingness, and a connection with energy.
Yeah.
And the energies there's so many different energies. It's the energy where you enter into within the ether is a place of energies rather than physical bodies or beings in a physical state. And some of those energies would have come from beings, but not necessarily beings that are like human beings, but other beings from other dimensions of creation, or aspects of creation that is not necessarily fully known to the people on earth. And they can materialize, have the capacity to materialize within the buildings within the ether. So there's a whole different world within the ether itself, and within the ether, it's like being in a city or in a futuristic landscape.
But you first of all said that it's a place of energy and it's not physical.
No, but it's not. It can
appear physical.
It appear to be of a physical nature within that dimension.
Yeah.
but it cannot be seen within the dimension of the earth as we know it
Right.
and exist within the present time.
Yeah. But is it actually very, very close to the Earth at the same time? It's not far away.
It's within, it's
Even within the Earth dimension. Like.
yes, within the atmosphere.
Oh.
But also that it has its connections with different constellations and with different energies within the different constellations, and they likewise with it. It's part of the aspect of creation or the existence of frequency, energy, matter, particles, whatever way you. So you're a different dimension, you're a different frequency and a different construction and a different visual.
I see. But most people would not be able to access this into this ether like that, or would they? I don't know. Is this a unique thing that you can do?
It's not unique in the sense that it's a one-off. It can happen, but it can be accessed. But the access has to go through a particular frequency or stargate or portal or entry. Needs a transformation needs to take place where you have particle acceleration within.
Yeah.
So without the particle acceleration, it won't happen.
No.
So the being or the person needs to have a particular construct and frequency.
Yeah.
And they need to be encoded in a particular way that allows the acceleration, the particle acceleration, that allows them to enter into the dimension and the frequency.
And how did they become encoded in this way?
The encoding is within their own system, and through force or through a certain set of circumstances, it becomes activated, and it's usually where there is an increase in frequency and vibration within that entity or person.
Yeah.
And because they have been encoded in a particular way, a particular frequency will activate.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody. Anyone that's in that situation is much different. Because it's each is unique. And each has their unique code because their DNA is unique. And the frequency within that is like playing a harp or something. You know, it's the tune that you play.
Yeah. And do you know other people in this life that can do what you can do?
I in the present life that I exist in, I don't personally know anyone, but I know that there are those that are there, that are capable.
Yeah.
We're scattered. We don't congregate together.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that we have to see these energies in different places and frequency by the virtue of the fact in the way that I could go through into the other dimension, and the fact that I've been lying on the ground, that in itself is an encoding within the earth itself.
Yeah.
So the people are in different places, in different locations.
Yeah.
And the way they will do it is slightly unique, is unique to them.
Yeah.
And the manner in which they manifest. They could go through an actual portal.
Yeah.
In terms of walking through, or find themselves just transferring. It's everything's different. It's like an actor. It's all the diversity. It's important that there is diversity in how these things happen.
I just wonder, when you have dissolved and gone through that portal and lost your physicality, how do you come back or get your body back to the physical after? How does that work?
There is still a connection.
Yeah.
There's still a stream, and there is still a thread or a cord with the earthly realm.
Yeah.
And there is a trigger. It's just like where humans normally astral travel at night when they're asleep. It's the same form of a trigger. That when a certain time comes, it's appropriate that I should return, because the main task is within this earthly plane. And it's beneficial to transfer between one and the other, and in going into the other, it enhances what's needed in this plane.
And could you expand on that, how it enhances what's needed in this plane?
Well, obviously, when you go into a different dimension, you're going into a different frequency.
Yeah.
And when you return, you're bringing part of that frequency back with you. And the fact that you have to kind of hit the ground again, you're encoding the earth with the extra frequencies or the added frequencies.
Yeah.
And then in your daily life, as you move and interact with, where I'm at that stage is it was a function of my existence at that particular time to encode the earth.
Oh, I see.
To allow for developments to take place, to raise the vibration and the frequency. Because I was an individual, I kind of spent my time on my own to a large degree with nature and with the animals. I would have gone unnoticed.
Because you weren't around other humans, were you?
Not in what I did.
Oh, right. You did that privately.
That would have been kind of unknown to others.
Yes.
Whereas I would have be part of a general community, but I was seen to be one that kind of liked to be with the animals. But in doing so, it gave me the opportunity to do and transfer and go between dimensions. And then that would have encoded my cellular genetic memory, that at any future incarnations I would carry that knowledge.
I see. Yes.
Even though by the nature of incarnation, knowledge can be forgotten through the veil. But given the right circumstances, it comes up again.
Yes. I wonder, how did you know to get those tattoos, or how did the person know to put those particular tattoos on you that would function the way you described them as functioning? Did you have to direct the artist to do that, or?
This is a strange one. By the time I would have been in my either around 30-ish or late 20, 30, in around that age group, late 20, early 30s, there was no direction of an artist. There was a unique happening where I was spent time maybe lying in the sunshine at the lake, at this particular lake. And I fell asleep, or found myself in a dream state.
Yeah.
And was brought to a place.
Yeah.
Where it was bright, where there was, it's like a temple.
Yes.
A temple that was crystalline energy. And there was a plinth, and I was placed on the plinth. And there was working human, like there was a bit like Anubis or Thoth.
Yeah.
Something like that. Working human as such. And they inscribed the different encodings and the different tattoos on my body.
Oh. Can you describe those beings, what they looked like? They weren't quite human. What were their heads like?
A bit human-like. The head wouldn't be the same sort of structure that you would expect in the normal human being. Their forehead, their eye sockets were bigger, and the forehead was more pronounced, and the head was broad.
Yeah.
And it had kind of a reddish sort of skin, no hair, and they were covered in all sorts of designs or configurations in terms of their body.
Was that a bit like tattoos as well?
Tattoo, yes.
Yeah.
It would have been part of their... But each though they would have... That was an encoding. And at the same time, they seemed to be like shields or armory.
Oh, right.
Or, almost like as if it was leather, but with designs. These designs. And you could see at times, from time to time, that from underneath what appeared to be the tattoos or the design, that there was a radiance permeating out.
Yeah.
Like an inner light.
Yeah.
And they didn't use instruments, they seemed to just use their hands or fingers, or what looked like fingers. There's kind of extended, I think it was, they didn't have a thumb, really, or no, the thumb and the four fingers, and they looked somewhat similar in length. They were tall, slim, and didn't seem to wear anything, and at the same time, they didn't seem naked. And they said something that I couldn't understand. The
language.
The words or the sounds that were being said.
Right.
It didn't sound like language, but it was toning, or it was a tone. And I didn't feel afraid or anything. I was just quite relaxed, and it was kind of an energizing experience.
Yeah.
And then I was left back, and I seemed to come out of the dream, and I realised, well, what happened was my body seemed to me to be sunburned.
Right.
Because I was lying there in the hot sun. And then as the sunburn kind of, the reddishness disappeared. What emerged were all of these.
You must have been pretty surprised when you saw all of these.
Yes, but the feeling would have been, was surprised, but because I went through the dream.
Oh, you understood that.
It felt like, it wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
And there was a certain feeling of energy, power, knowing. I just felt much different and part of everything around me.
Yes.
And that's when the animals started to change their approach to me, and that's when they would have treat me as
the same as them.
Yeah, as them, and not be a person, not be afraid or stand back or kind of confront me with, as animals you'd expect.
Yes. And did you feel an affinity with the animals, and did you feel you could communicate with them?
Oh yeah, yes.
Did you feel you could read their thoughts almost telepathically or anything? It's just something that just happened. You communicated. They happen to be animals, but I found myself communicating in a way that I was used to communicating with humans, and they communicated with me in the same way as if they were not as if they were humans, but with the energy frequency of that particular animal. Yeah, that was lovely. And all of those animals even seem to have the same nice, easy relationship even with each other, which
yes.
isn't normal either, because some of those animals would be afraid of each other.
Yes.
But
it was something to do with me.
Yeah, it was this effect, this energy.
Yeah, but it was the area then, it became the area.
Oh yes, a very special kind of an energy there.
Yes, and because of the encoding within the earth itself from the designs on my body.
Yes, I see. Yeah. That's very interesting.